on Health Talk. And tonight we have a very interesting topic, and I think you all are going to find this topic to be beneficial and informative. So, again, thank you for taking your time to come on and just join us here on Health Talk tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about what your cravings are trying to tell you: science, stress, and the body language. But before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself craving something specific? Not just regular hunger, but a pull towards some type of salty food, maybe some type of chocolate food, maybe something sugary, or even something crunchy. And you thought to yourself, what is wrong with me? Well, tonight we're going to flip that question because cravings, they are not moral failures, they are not weakness, and they are not your body betraying you in any type of way. Cravings are information. And when we slow down to listen, they can tell us a lot about our biology, our nutrition, our stress levels, our nervous system, and sometimes our trauma history. This is about understanding your body. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Do us a favor, tag somebody, like, and share. I think you're going to find this information from this podcast to be very, very beneficial. So share it with somebody. Again, take a few minutes, like, share, tag somebody. And if you're not following us on our Health Talk Facebook page, please head on over there and follow us. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, head on over there and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Okay? And Health Talk is a part of He Cares Training and Education Center, where yours truly, Dr. Corbett, is the founder and CEO, and Dr. Deidre Willis is our co founder and executive vice president. Check us out. All right, so what a craving actually is. So, what is a craving? And I'm sure we've all had them. Some might have had them more often than others, but we have all had cravings. Yeah, we all have them. But what actually are cravings? Now, scientifically speaking, a craving is a neurobiological signal. It's your body way of signaling something to you to let you know that something is going on. It's your body's way of letting you know that. It involves communication between the brain, specifically or especially the reward and regulation centers, hormones like dopamine, cortisol, insulin, and leptin. The gut brain axis, the connection between your brain and your gut, your stomach, as well as your nervous system. Now, cravings, they often show up when the body is trying to restore some type of balance. Uh, and this balance that is trying to restore is what we call homeostasis. Not all craving means deficiency. These are some key points I want you to understand. Not all craving means that there's a deficiency, but many cravings are the body asking for something. It's either energy, minerals, regulation, comfort, or safety. So, again, not all the cravings you have indicates there is some type of deficiency. But a lot of the cravings that we experience and that we have, that's our body way of saying, I need something. I either need energy, I either need minerals, I either need regulation, I need comfort, or either I need safety. Now, let us understand. Let's talk about understanding craving patterns and their frequency. Before we talk about why we crave things, it is important for us to talk about how often cravings show up, because the frequency of these cravings that we have tells a story as well as the cravings themselves. Okay? So, cravings, they can vary in duration and frequency. In other words, they vary in how long they last and how often they occur. And these patterns, or those patterns, often reflect temporary or ongoing influences in the body and the environment, not anything personal, no personal failure or nothing like that. So let's talk about occasional cravings. So when you have occasional cravings, they may be influenced by short term factors such as temporary stress. People get stressed, and I know some of you may have heard of the term of stress eating. That's where that term kind of coincides with. So it's a temporary stress. This occasional craving may also come from missed or delayed meals. So, such as, oh, I forgot to eat lunch, or I eat later on. So, these occasional cravings may come from those missed meals or delayed meals. Sleep disruption. Commonly, it's recommended that we should get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. So when there's a sleep disruption where we maybe only can get 3, 4 hours of sleep, or we go to bed and we get up early, so those sleep disruptions can cause occasional cravings. Also, situational or emotional triggers, and that's things that may happen where we become very stressful, or our emotions, something that cause an emotional outburst, emotional disturbance, and that creates those occasional cravings. Now, these cravings, they are often resolved once balance is restored, once that emotional trigger or that situational trigger or sleep is improved or the stress is reduced. Those things, once those balances are brought back into restoration, then you won't be experiencing, in most instances, you won't be experiencing that occasional craving. Now, if you're having cravings a few times a week, okay, so these cravings that show up several times a week may be reflected of things such as repeated stress exposure, being exposed to stressful situation on a repetitive basis. When you have those cravings a few times a week, they may be linked to or related to that. Also, repeated stress exposure, like I said. Also, inconsistent in nutrition or hydration. You're not drinking enough. You're not, you may eat a good meal today, tomorrow you barely eat anything. So that's an inconsistent in your nutrition and your hydration. Maybe 2 days straight, you drinking plenty of fluids, eating right, and all that, and then 3 days out of later, you're skipping and you're hitting and missing. So inconsistency in nutrition or hydration. Also, energy demand exceeding recovering. In other words, your body is burning more energy, needing more energy, consuming more energy than the body has the time to relax, rest, and recover. Okay. And also habitual cues tied to routine or environment. These are when you have those cravings a few times a week. Those habitual cues, those cues that become habit forming, and they're tied to things such as routine or environment. Routines such as I don't eat breakfast, but I barely eat lunch, but then I make sure I eat a good full supper. These are habitual cues tied to routine or environment. That routine pattern, I don't eat breakfast in the morning. I might eat a light lunch or I might not eat lunch at all. And once I get home, I eat a full meal, or vice versa. I make sure I get a little light breakfast, might get a little good lunch, but then for supper, I may eat little to nothing. Those are habitual cues as they're related to routine or environment. Now, these patterns are not something to judge, but they're worth noticing. They're worth paying attention to because, as I said, they could be signaling to us and to our body that something is going on. I'm missing something. That's your body way of saying, I'm missing something. That's what these cravings are. The body's unique way of saying, I'm missing something. Hey, I'm over here. Pay me some attention. Okay. Now, we talked about the occasional cravings. We talked about, a few times a week. Now we're going to talk about those daily or those persistent craving that you have. I mean, you're constantly having them every day. You got a craving for something salty. I got a craving for some chocolate. I got a craving for some ice. Oh, I just got to have me some sweets. I'm talking to myself. But those daily or those persistent cravings. Now, daily or persistent cravings are not diagnoses. They're not way or indicators to diagnose yourself for any type of serious medical condition or medical situation. Okay, but they can be associated with things such as prolonged stress or nervous system activation when your body is constantly in a stressful state, uh, or as we say, in that constant state of fight, flight, or freeze. When your body is persistently in that's creates that daily craving. We're going to talk about a little bit more down into the podcast. Also, ongoing lifestyle strain. Your body is constantly being put to stressful, strainsful situation. You're constantly being strained. You don't have time, as we said, to recover. You don't have your body doesn't have time to recuperate itself, and as a result, the body is saying, "When I can't recover, I need something to make up for that moments and those periods where I cannot recover. I need attention." That's what your body is saying. I need attention. Also, repeated blood sugar swings. When we talked about, those routines where I eat breakfast, don't eat lunch, or eat a light lunch, by then your blood sugar has had a mood swing. It's dropped, and now you're trying to make up for it and you're trying to eat to bring your sugar back up. So those swings in your blood sugar, that up and down correlation when it comes to regulating your blood sugar, when it's fluctuating and going this number, when you have a situation where your blood sugar is doing something like this here, that causes your body to have that daily or persistent craving. Okay. And lastly, long term disconnection from hunger and fullness cues. That is something important. Long term disconnection, because these cravings are these daily cravings or these persistent craving, it causes the body through the nervous system. through chemical markers causes the body to kind of get disconnected from saying I'm hungry versus I'm full, those cues, and they get disconnected. I'm hungry, I'm full. These daily and persistent craving causes a disconnection. So you don't really know, am I really hungry? Am I full? Okay. So this is some of the effects as a result of those daily, persistent, long term craving. And we need to pay attention to what our body is telling us. So, persistent craving are information. Sometimes they are invitation to pause, reassess, and consider additional support. If it's stress, then I need to seek some type of counseling. I might need to pray for those of us that are religious and of the Christian faith. But we need some type of support. If your body is staying in a state of flight, fight, or freeze, you may need to reassess your situation. You might need some therapy. You might need some counseling. You might need some self care. You might just need a moment to just pull away from everything and everybody and say, this moment and this time is for me. Your body is trying to tell you something or tell us something through these various cravings. And we need to stop, reassess, and consider additional support. It's okay when your plate is full, and I'm not talking about with food, I'm talking about with life occurrences. It's okay sometimes to pause and say, no. It's okay to say to yourself, I need some me time. Okay. And we're not going to be like Medea and Cora in the movie when Cora told Medea, I need me some me time. No, you need some you time. And it's very, very important that you provide yourself with that self care and that you take time to have that me time for you. It's okay to pull away from things that draws your strength, that draws your energy. And I know for some of you, you are thinking, well, I just don't have time. My plate is so full. I just got so much to do. If I don't do listen, you need that you moment, that you time. Even if it's nothing but an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, you need that you time. Okay? These cravings, as we said, they're information that our body is trying to convey to us. And if we do not pay attention to this information that our body is trying to convey to us, then our body will respond in a way that we may not like. That's just a little tidbit on there, okay? I just threw that in. All right, now from a trauma informed perspective, long term stress and trauma can influence how the body signal needs. So when there's long-term stress or there's some type of trauma, it has a way of influencing how our body will signal what we need. Okay. For some individuals, craving function as a self-regulation strategies, especially when the nervous system has learned to stay on high alert. Okay. So when we talk about frequency, we're not labeling or diagnosing. We are learning to listening with curiosity instead of criticism. All right, so what are some common cravings and what they may signal. Now, understand that there are a lot of cravings, but we're going to talk about a few specific ones on tonight's episode. Okay, so let's talk through some of the most common cravings, not as a diagnose, but as pattern supported by research. The first one we're going to talk about is salty cravings. Persistent craving for salty food may be linked to things such as an imbalance in our electrolytes, our potassium, magnesium, zinc, sodium, um, those such elements. Also, it may be when we're craving salt or something salty that our sodium level is low. And it could come from things such as excessive sweating, or it could come from things such as dehydration. Also, adrenaline, stress, and chronic cortisol activation. And when we talk, and this is as it relates to that, the body staying in that consistent state of fight, flight, or freeze. And when we say fight, flight, or freeze, that's the body's natural response uh, to stressful situation, dangerous situation, and this is the body uh, nervous system responding to this. The body responds in a way of fight. I got to do what I got to do to protect my safety. Flight. I got to get out of this situation, whichever way I got to get out of it. Or freeze. Have you ever noticed that sometimes some people in certain situations they just freeze? They don't either run, they don't fight, they just freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. This is the body's natural response for safety. This is the body way of providing itself with safety. And this is when those adrenaline, stress, and cortisol begin to be activated. Okay. Other issues that may cause craving for salty food are certain medication. Certain medication kind of dry out because I know some of you may take some medication. You get the dry mouth and things of that nature. It's has a diuretic effect, so it dries out. So that may cause that salty craving as well. And in some cases, low blood pressure states. If your blood pressure is low, that could be an indicator for you having that salty craving. Again, these are not diagnoses. These are scientific research data, okay, evidence based, but we're not diagnosing. We're just providing you with this information. Now, when it comes to salty craving, here's the trauma informed layer. I am a trauma informed practitioner, uh, certified trauma informed. So I have to throw that in, okay? So, from a trauma form layer, chronic stress, it keeps the body in a survival loop. That's what I was just telling you, that survival loop, that fight, flight, or freeze. That loop burns through electrolyte faster than we realize. The body is trying to protect itself. Okay. Now, let's move on to one that many of you, many of you have, and that is that craving for something chocolate. Chocolate cravings are one of the most studied type of cravings that there is out there. And they are associated with things such as a deficiency in magnesium. So there's a craving for chocolate. It may, I'm not diagnosing, again, we're not diagnosing. It may be an indication of magnesium insufficiency. It also may be an indicator for iron needs, that your body is depleted in iron, especially in those who may be in their menstruation cycle. So that craving for chocolate during menstruation um, could be a deficiency in iron because as you're menstruating, your body is losing the blood, so it's deficient could cause a deficiency in iron. Dopamine regulation, uh, excuse me, mood regulation under stress. So if you're having that craving for chocolate, it could be several of those things. Though the magnesium insufficiency, the iron, uh, the body needs for more iron, the dopamine regulation within the body. Also, and dopamine and all helps regulate blood pressure and all as well. And mood regulation under stress. So when you have that chocolate craving, uh, you know, your mood, your body's trying to regulate your mood. Am I depressed? Am I feeling withdrawn? Or am I feeling hurt? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling broken? That mood regulation under stress, you get to craving that chocolate. That's why um, some people, when they're having that depressed, saddened, withdrawn moment, that's why they can sit there and eat a whole box of chocolate and don't even realize that they've eaten a whole box of chocolate till they reach in and find out there's no more chocolate. Okay. And I want you to know that magnesium, it plays a role in over 300 enzymatic reaction. What we mean enzymatic is enzyme reaction that happens within our body for regulation of the body function. Okay. And this include the nervous system regulation. And remember, the nervous system has that flight, fight, or freeze uh, loop attached to it. Okay. So sometimes the craving is not about chocolate being bad, but it's about the body asking for calmness. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about one that, yes, in a moment of transparency, and those of you that know me, one of the cravings that I have, but I am able to report that is not as bad as it used to be, and that is sugar craving. Sugar craving often gets judged the most, but they are usually the loudest signal of imbalance. I need you to understand that. Sugar craving get judged the most, but these cravings are the loudest to let us know that something is not right. There's an imbalance somewhere in the body. So, some of the potential contributors to the sugar craving include things such as blood sugar instability. Again, in a moment of transparency, um, I do suffer from hypoglycemia, which means that my blood sugar has a tendency to be low all the time. And I have to be very careful with that. I'm speaking for myself. I have to be very careful with that because constantly having hypoglycemia could eventually turn into diabetes. So I have to be mindful of that and I have to make sure I kind of keep that in check. So, blood sugar instability. Also, inadequate protein or fiber intake. So, if you're not getting enough protein in your body, if you're not getting enough fiber in your body, it may be an indicator uh, why you're having those sugar cravings. So, a simple fix for that is increase your protein, increase your fiber. Hopefully, that'll help with the sugar craving. Again, we are not diagnosing, okay? And again, in a moment of transparency, I think that is what has contributed to my craving for sugar to uh, become lesser because I have increased my protein and I have increased my fiber intake as well. Poor sleep. Poor sleep. Did y'all know that? Did you really know that having poor sleep, not enough sleep, inadequate sleep can cause sugar craving? Think about that. Again, we keep talking about this stress. Stress is a booger. To be honest with you, it has a tremendous effect on the body. That's why it is so important that we manage our stress levels. So if you have a sugar craving, it may be due to chronic stress. Seek therapy. It's okay to seek therapy. It's okay to serve Christ and seek therapy. It's okay. Yes, I said it and I will say it again. It's okay to serve Christ and seek therapy. Okay? There. Now, emotional exhaustion. You have become so emotionally exhausted. You've gone through so much that has taken a toll on your emotional until you have become emotionally exhausted. And this could come from various avenues. It could come from dealing with health issues. It could come from dealing with chronic stressful situation. It could come from being there for everybody and feeling like nobody is there for you. You're always running to do this. You're always running to take care of that. You become emotionally exhausted. That creates that sugar craving. Okay. And lastly, of course, my baby, trauma related nervous system dysregulation. Trauma and stress impacts the body in ways that you may not know about it. That's why stress management is critical. And that's why if you have dealt with or dealing with some type of traumatic situation, that you seek help so that you can get the body to come back into balance. That's why it's okay to serve Christ and seek therapy. Okay? Because everything is not a demon. Some things are just the body, the biological, the neuroscience, the makeup of our body as Christ has made it, trying to get back in alignment. And it's not always demonic. Okay? It's not always a spirit. Okay? So I will challenge you with this scenario here. If you can go and see a physician for your diabetes, for your hypertension, for your heart problem, these are all health issues. Stress, depression, trauma, they are all health issues as well, but from the mental aspect of our body. So, if you're going to say that a person that's dealing with depression has a demon and you want to criticize them or challenge them for going and seeking therapy, then you may need to reconsider your demonic influence of hypertension and you going to see a physician and taking medication. Okay? Something to think about. I'm throwing that out there. Something to challenge you to think about. Okay? All right. So, under stress, the brain seek quick energy. When our body is under stress, or when our body is going through traumatic situation, it needs energy. Okay? We're in that fight, flight, or freeze moment. It's a continual loop. Remember I said it's a continual loop. So when we are under stress or when we're dealing with traumatic situation, the brain seeks quick energy. And the quickest way for the body to get energy is through sugar. That's why that sugar craving happens. And it is not a character flaw, it is biology. Okay? Stress, trauma, all those, they eat up the body energy. And the body has to restore itself to balance, to that homeostasis state. And that is why it has that craving for sugar, because sugar is the fastest way to give the body energy. All right. You might have a craving for carbs and bread. Constantly, yeah, I just got to have me some bread, got to give me some kind of carb in my body. Carbohydrates are the body's preferred fuel source for our brain. Okay. So these craving for carbs or bread, they may be an indicator or they may be reflection that there's an inadequate caloric intake, meaning I'm not taking in enough calories through the day for my brain to be fueled to operate so it can tell my body how it needs to operate. Okay. Also, high cognitive or emotional demand. When you have a craving for carbs or bread and sugar, that means you have a high cognitive or emotional demand, something that's causing you to constantly be alert, be attentive, or some type of emotional demand, whether say for instance, if you are a caretaker or if you are a healthcare provider, those specific areas cause for high cognitive or emotional demand, because you have to be constantly alert, you have to be constantly uh, dealing with emotional and stressful situation. Okay. Serotonin regulation, also long-term stress, cannot get us to understand enough how stress and trauma affects our body. Okay. When life feels heavy, the brain is looking for some grounding. When your life feels like everything is being thrown at me all at once, and it's just so, it's life is just, the weight of everything is on me. I'm carrying everything. And in some instance, the body says, I need grounding. This is just a little bit too much. I'm about to break down. And this is why you have people that have uh, breakdowns, quote unquote, because the body has been overloaded. And we didn't pay attention to these little simple little cues, such as cravings. And lastly, I'm going to talk about ice craving. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Phagophy- phago, phagophagia. Phagophagia. I think I said it correct. That is the legal medical terminology for ice craving. Phagophagia. I think I said it right. Craving ice, chewing ice, especially not just so much as wanting ice. It's the chewing of the ice. I have a dear uh, person, and my dear sister. She has, I don't know if she still does, I think she does, but she has a craving for ice. She's got to have that shaved ice. Uh, she would even at times would, when the ice build up in the freezer, would go and scrape the ice out the freezer. I know she's gonna kill me for saying this, but she was gonna scrape the ice out the freezer and just start eating the ice. That's that phagophagia, craving ice, the chewing of it especially. It has a well documented association with iron deficiency. So if you've got that craving, you just got to have some ice. You just got to crunch and crunch that ice. You need to crunch that ice. It may be that you have an iron deficiency. And this one is important. Okay. This one is very important. And it's so important that I want to say this very clear to you that are listening and you that may catch this on replay. I want to say this to you very clearly. If ice craving is persistent, it deserves a medical conversation. In other words, have a discussion with your healthcare provider. Okay. All right. We're getting ready to wrap it up. The trauma informed perspective as it relates to cravings. Now, here's the part we do not talk about enough, and that is trauma changes the body signaling system. When there is trauma, stress, it has it caused that disconnection, and the body can't send those signals appropriately and in the way that they need to send them. Research has shown trauma and stress can alter hunger and satiety cues. In other words, a feeling of full and hunger. Trauma and stress alter those cues. Okay. That's why when some people are dealing with stress and depression, they don't eat because those cues for feeling full and wanting something to eat or being hungry, those cues get crossed, get altered. So that's why they may go for days and not eat anything. They may go for hours and not eat anything when they're in that depressed and traumatic state. And this is why. It increased the cortisol and insulin resistance. Okay. It increases that cortisol level, that fight, flight, freeze. Okay. It causes those blood sugars to be unstable. This is from trauma and stress. Okay. Heighten reward seeking behaviors where those cravings come in. Okay. And it trauma and stress disconnect people from interceptive awareness. And that means the ability to feel internal signals. Again, as we was talking about those hunger cues or those things of that nature. Okay. So people do not crave because they are indulgent. They don't crave because I just want to eat something. I just want to eat something. They don't crave for that reason. They crave because their nervous system has been on high alert for years. Okay. And in that context, cravings are often self soothing strategies, not a lack of discipline. It's not that you're not disciplined, it's that your body is trying to take care of itself and to restore itself back to that homeostasis, the place of balance. Okay, it's not that you're not disciplined. So don't beat yourself up. You are very well disciplined. It's just your body is trying to tell you something. Let's listen to what our body is saying, okay? All right. So, what to do when a craving shows up? Hmm? Instead of asking, how do I stop this craving? How can I get rid of this craving? Try asking yourself, what might my body need right now? Hmm? So, here's a couple of things that you can do. Pause before reacting. You get that craving for that chocolate, pause. Think about what's going on in my life right now that has me craving this chocolate. I'm using chocolate example. That's any type of those cravings. Pause before reacting. Before going and grabbing that chocolate bar, before tearing that sneaker up, pause and think, what am I dealing with right now? What's going on in my body right now? What's going on in my life right now? What could be causing me to want this chocolate? And I say this as some are. uh, the co-workers that I know, they always want chocolate. They got to have their chocolate because of the stressful environment in which that we're working in causes that craving. Okay, hydration check. Did I drink enough fluid today? Did I take in enough fluids today? When you want that salty craving, protein and fiber balance. Did I get enough protein in? Did I take enough fiber when you get those sugar cravings? Gentle curiosity, not judgment. Don't beat yourself up. Pause before you react. What's going on in my life right now that's got me craving this? Make sure you're eating regular meals, at least 3 meals a day, at least minimum. Adequate sleep. Oh, you just don't know. I do know, but if you don't pull over and rest your body will rest itself in a way that you're not going to be pleased with. So make sure you get adequate sleep, at least 6 to 8 hours each night, even on your days off from work. Okay, that keeps that body in that pattern of getting its rest. Stress regulation practice. You get stressful, try mindfulness, meditation, yoga, tai chi. These are all stress regulating practice. And we will do a mindfulness exercise at a later time here on the podcast. Make sure you join us when we do it. And medical evaluation when needed. Have that discussion with your healthcare provider if you're experiencing any of these cravings. We're not diagnosing anything tonight. We're providing you with scientific research, evidence based, that you can make an informed decision to have a healthy discussion with your healthcare provider. Listening does not always mean obeying your craving, but it does mean respecting the signal that it is sending you. All right. And before we close, I want to give you a few things to reflect on. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to grab a pen and grab a paper, or go ahead in the comment section. Right now, I can't see any of your comments right now, but at the end of the podcast, and those of you that may catch this on replay, and you leave a comment, ask a question, or anything like that, we will respond to your comment. Okay. So, again, at this current moment, I'm unable to see any comments at this time, but at the end of the podcast, any comment that you leave, I will, we will respond to your comments in a timely fashion. Okay. So, grab your pen, grab your paper, or you can type your response in the comments. And again, we will respond to your comment. This is a reflection question for you. What cravings shows up most often for you? Of those cravings we talked about, or if there are any others, which one of them shows up most often in your life? Go ahead, jot it down, put it in the comment. Either way, these are reflection questions. These are questions to make us sit back and think and listen. This is the beginning of listening and respecting the cues that these cravings are trying to tell us. All right. Second question. What was happening in my life when these cravings intensified? What was going on in my life when these cravings intensified? Jot that down. Write it in the comment. We'd love to hear from you. I promise you, we will respond. Okay. Third thing, how do I usually talk to myself when cravings appear? How do I usually talk to myself when craving appear? Or do I even talk to myself or do I just give in? Think about it. These are reflection questions. We got two more. What would it feel like to respond with curiosity instead of control? What would it feel like to respond with curiosity instead of control? Instead of saying, no, I can't have that cake. No, I can't have that piece of chocolate. But instead, respond with curiosity. Why am I craving this? What's going on? What situation is happening? What's going on in my life right now? And lastly, is there a pattern my body has been trying to tell me about? Is there's a pattern that's occurring in my life? Am I staying in that loop cycle of fight, flight, or freeze? All right. So let's recap these questions again so you can write them down and reflect on them a little later, even after the podcast, or go ahead in the comment section and put your response in that comment section. First one, what craving shows up most often for me? What craving do you have the most? Is it salt? Is it chocolate? Is it ice? Is it sugar? Or maybe it's multiple. What happened or what was happening in my life when they intensified? What was happening in my life when these cravings intensified? Go ahead, write it down, reflect on it, drop it in the comment. We will respond to you. We promise you we will. How do I usually talk to myself when craving appear? What do you normally say when you have a craving? Or do you even say anything? Or you just act upon that craving? Go find that piece of chocolate. Go get that salty food. Get me a cup full of ice. How do I usually talk to myself when these cravings appear? Or do I even talk to myself? What would it feel like to respond with curiosity instead of control? Instead of trying to keep myself from getting that piece of uh, donut, instead of in, instead of eating a full or whole donut, let me cut it in half. That's a means of trying to control. See what I'm saying? Or instead of getting a whole slice of pizza, let me share a slice with somebody else. This is a means of control. So, what would it feel like if I respond with curiosity instead of control? And curiosity asks question. Why do I want this piece of donut? Why do I want this pizza? And lastly, is there a pattern my body has been trying to tell me? These cravings, is there a pattern that's occurring? In other words, every time I get angry, I want chocolate. Every time I feel sad, I want ice cream. These are patterns. So, is there a pattern my body has been trying to tell me about? All right. These are reflection questions. I hope you wrote them down so that you can go back and reflect on them. That's why they're reflection questions. Or go ahead and leave them in the comments section so that we can go back and respond to you in your comment section. Okay. So that we can have that discussion with you. All right. Your body is not the enemy, it has been adapting, surviving, and communicating, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly. Cravings are not commands, they are messages. These cravings are messages. They're trying to tell us something. And when we learn to listen without shame, we move closer to healing and we move closer to bringing the body back into a state of balance or the state of homeostasis. If this episode has helped you reframe even one moment of self judgment, then it did exactly what we wanted it to do. So be gentle with your body. It's been carrying more than you know. Listen, I am Dr. Ferris Corbett, founder and CEO of He Cares Training and Education Center, along with Dr. Deidre Willis, our Executive Vice President and co founder of He Cares Training and Education Center. Our job is to equip you with evidence based information so that you can make informed decision regarding your health and well being. And we hope that tonight's episode has given you something to sit back and think about. To sit back and say, when I'm having these cravings, what is my body trying to tell me? Instead of just automatically giving in to those cravings. You have the power, you have the ability, you have the strength, and now you have the information to combat these cravings in a way that is helpful and in a way that will help your body to return itself to a state of homeostasis. In other words, heal thyself, physician. You have the authority and the ability to do so. We hope you found this episode to be very beneficial and useful. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us here on Health Talk, or whether you catch it in replay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please do us a huge favor. Leave us a comment. Leave us your thoughts. Leave us your opinion. Leave us your ideas. Express yourself. We will respond to every comment that you make. All right? And think about those reflection questions. Okay? Again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're not following us on our Health Talk Facebook page, please head on over there and follow us. All right? We appreciate it to the highest. And if you're not subscribed to our Health Talk YouTube channel, head on over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and hit that bell so that you can get notification each time we come on or anytime that we upload any new information. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to Health Talk with yours truly, Dr. Ferris Corbett. Until the next time, remember, your health matters. God bless you. Take care, and we'll see you soon.